The story began with the nobles gathered together, giggling as they looked at a miserable boy. One of the nobles pointed his finger at the boy, intending to attack him with the magic power he possessed. However, before delivering the fatal blow, the noble granted the boy permission to retaliate, a last parting gift before the inevitable. The boy's situation was pitiable, covered in blood and injuries. Exhausted, he raised his hand and attempted to counterattack with the remaining magical power he had left. Unfortunately, the fire attack he produced dissipated without causing any harm to the arrogant noble. Brushing off the boy's feeble attack, the arrogant noble reminded him of the three most important things for magicians: pedigree, talent, and effort. Quoting William Bolt as the father of all mages, the noble emphasized that no matter how hard one works, without the right lineage or a sufficient amount of talent, success is unattainable. The noble then pointed his finger at the boy, generating magical energy and clarifying that effort alone was not the sole prerequisite. In other words, regardless of one's hard work, without being born into the right circumstances or possessing inherent talent, success was elusive. As the noble produced an overwhelming fire before the boy's eyes, he declared that magic would never be the boy's skill. With the burning flames of noble magic engulfing the boy, the nobleman walked away, leaving the suffering boy behind. In the midst of excruciating pain before his imminent death, the boy found the burning magic fire to be brilliant. He admired the magic of a noble who was blessed in every aspect. Though it was hot and beautiful, even brilliant, to him as he turned into ashes, he wished he had more time to study magic under such a master. He went unconscious, but when he suddenly opened his eyes, he saw himself surrounded by maids. Confused, he realized he was now a baby in a cradle. Pondering his whereabouts and looking at the maids, he attempted to scare them with a fireball. However, when he tried to produce magic, he found himself lacking sufficient magic power. Feeling his tiny hands, the little fireball he produced dissipated. When the maid saw smoke coming out of the baby's finger, she got scared and shouted intensely in fear. The entire kingdom buzzed with the news that Salem Kingdom now had a seventh prince, and Prince Lloyd had been born. 10 years later in the Salem Kingdom, the seventh prince was mischievous, a 10-year-old kid now. Two nobles standing in the corridor talked about hunting when suddenly they noticed Lloyd running and playing. They called out to Lloyd, but he ran away, frustrating the noble. One noble acknowledged that Lloyd was the seventh prince, much younger than his other siblings, and could not even be considered as an heir, so there was no point in giving him special treatment. However, the other noble called him stupid for thinking that way. He revealed that Lloyd understood their language right out of the womb, rifled through spell books instead of picture books, rejected mother's milk like a gentleman, and most importantly, was believed to be the reincarnation of the famous mage and father of magic, William Bolt. The other noblemen found this revelation ridiculous. Meanwhile, Lloyd knew that they were right since he was, in fact, reincarnated. He acknowledged that he wasn't William Bolt, but a normal citizen of Salem. The maids came searching for Lloyd, calling his name while Lloyd hid himself, pondering the reason for his reincarnation as the seventh prince or why he remembered his previous life. Despite holding a status of prince in his new life, he still felt the same way as before and did not care about fame or fortune. The only thing he cared about was learning and mastering the art of casting more spells. That alone interested him. He went to the library and found it to be a brilliant place, even compared to Salem's magic schools. However, one of the maids, Silpha, finally found the mischievous Lloyd in the library. Knowing that he was going to be considered as an heir, he did not see any value in sword practice, especially since he acknowledged the fact that he wasn't very athletic even in his previous life. Silpha, the maid, was persistent and always reminded him that succession was not everything. Those of royalty should at least learn swordsmanship. She had been his instructor for 3 years and considered it the purpose of life to train him. Lloyd had known that if he did not take Silpha seriously, she would have kept him there all day. So he decided to practice swordsmanship as well and exchanged a few blows with her. The maid praised his efforts and pointed out his significant improvement. Lloyd acknowledged that she had been going easy on him, but with time, she had been holding back a little less each day. That is why Lloyd had been using control magic on himself to mirror Silpha's movements, creating an experience as if she were fighting a clone of herself. Lloyd acknowledged his cheating because he wanted to return to reading as soon as possible after finishing the sword practice. However, Lloyd still struggled to keep up with her, even with the use of clone magic. The differences in their strength, reach, and height were crucial factors in their fight, regardless of copying her movements exactly. The significant disparities in their body types made him struggle against Silpha. Determined to fix this issue, Lloyd decided to conduct an experiment and resorted to using even more magic to cheat. He employed strength magic to enhance his weak body, used growth magic to extend his sword, and manipulated his physique for his benefit. With the added strength of magic, he was able to execute better maneuvers in mid-air due to less weight, and successfully posed a challenge to Silpha on equal grounds. Having addressed both the power and distance problems he faced against her, Lloyd was finally able to imitate her as if she were fighting a complete mirror image of herself. Adding the cherry on top, Lloyd, despite perfectly imitating her fighting style, also executed sudden and different moves, such as the trace cancel, to gain an edge over her. However, Silpha was consistently able to easily counter his attacks, shocking Lloyd. Recognizing Lloyd's use of magic to enhance his abilities, she pointed out his cheating, making Lloyd uncomfortable and uneasy. After dodging his next attack, Silpha skillfully disarmed him, sending him flying to the other side. She had already deduced that Lloyd was using magic to extend the length of his sword, as she could never mistake the deceptive distance he maintained during their combat. Lloyd, leveraging his short stature to his advantage, utilized float magic to align himself with Silpha. Despite recognizing this action as cheating, Silpha, with a firm heart and a confident smile, praised him for the talents he possessed. In a moment of encouragement, she revealed that activating two magics at once was even challenging for experienced mages. She expressed her acceptance of Lloyd's growth at his own pace, but was determined not to let him escape the standards of fair play. Lloyd realized that Silpha had not detected his movement tracing or body reinforcement magics. Deciding to keep quiet about the fact that he was actually using 4 spells at once, and maintained a discreet silence on the matter. While in the kingdom's castle, Lloyd found himself in an embarrassing situation. Despite his reluctance, he was surrounded by numerous maids during his bath in the maid dormitory bathing hall. The maids insisted on his participation, as Lloyd had a tendency to skip bathing and immerse himself in books, ultimately turning him into a bookworm. Feeling exposed and out of his comfort zone, Lloyd confessed that his true desire was to explore more tomes. The maids, amused by his admission, decided to playfully tease him with an old legend. According to the tale, there was a malevolent force known as the Mage that targeted disobedient individuals. The legend warned that those who did not follow orders would be devoured by the Mage, a creature that had once wrought havoc on the country of Salum. After the struggles of many mages, the Mage was finally sealed within a forbidden grimoire. The maid further added that the sealed book in the prohibited book section was located beneath the castle. However, she dismissed it as just a fairy tale, finding it ridiculous to entertain the idea of a Mage sealed below the castle. As she spoke, Lloyd trembled at the thought, finding the notion unsettling. Amused by Lloyd's reaction, the maid found his fear endearing, referring to him as cute for being scared of the supposed bad Mage that once threatened Prince Salum. In the midst of the banter, the maids began arguing about who would get the privilege of having Lloyd sleep with them. Silpha, asserting her position as his teacher, insisted on being the first to share a room with him. As the maids engaged in a heated dispute over Lloyd's sleeping arrangements, he saw an opportunity and silently slipped away from the commotion. Deep in thought about the forbidden book, Lloyd contemplated the mysterious tales surrounding the sealed grimoire hidden beneath the castle. Amidst the vigilant watch of 2 knights assigned to guard the entrance of the forbidden library, they acknowledged the significance of their duty. Beyond the entrance lay books that recorded powerful magic capable of shaking the foundation of the country. They added a chilling detail: a sealed Mage resided down there. Unbeknownst to them, Lloyd managed to sneak past them and approach the entrance of the forbidden library. The next challenge for Lloyd was the sealed library door, a formidable obstacle secured by the combined powers of 10 mages, constituting the ultimate seal. Despite its reputation, Lloyd surprisingly breezed through the door with ease. As he entered the library, a sense of excitement overcame him, encountering an exotic place he had never seen in his 10 years of living in the castle. He eagerly explored every corner before quickly focusing on his mission. After meticulous searching, Lloyd finally found the book housing the sealed Mage. Upon opening the book, the monstrous figure emerged, bound in chains that confined him. Astonishingly, the creature praised Lloyd for breaking the seal on the library door, expressing admiration for the boy's incredible feat. Introducing himself as a grimoire, the Mage inquired about Lloyd's name and shared his own. When the Mage requested Lloyd to free him from the chains of the seal, Lloyd remained resolute and unyielding. In response, the Mage conveyed that one day, the deteriorating seal would break, and he would be set free, returning sooner or later. Acknowledging the potential threat to the country, Lloyd decided to reseal the Mage, understanding the responsibility he bore in using the country as a haven for his magical research. Lloyd straightened the chains he wore as part of the seal, while the Mage pleaded with him. In a desperate attempt to secure his freedom, the Mage went a step further and offered to teach Lloyd ancient magic knowledge lost to time, originating from hundreds of years ago. Despite the Mage's earnest pleas and enticing proposition, Lloyd remained unmoved and resolute. However, in a sudden turn of events, Lloyd's mind shifted, and he found himself intrigued by the prospect of learning ancient magic. He decided to inquire further, asking the Mage if he was truly willing to impart this ancient knowledge. The Mage agreed, acknowledging Lloyd's change of heart. Furthermore, the Mage pointed out to Lloyd that he possessed an innate talent for magic, a gift since birth that could potentially be honed and developed. Upon hearing the Mage mention his innate talent for magic, Lloyd's mind flashed back to the words of a noble before his demise. The noble had conveyed to him the unfortunate reality of his inability for magic, attributing it to being unblessed by the bloodline and devoid of innate talent. The memories of that conversation resonated with Lloyd. However, in response to the Magin's comment on his magical aptitude, Lloyd affirmed his abilities with newfound confidence, his face illuminated by determination. He boldly declared that if magical disposition could be considered a combination of blood and talent, then surely he possessed a body more blessed than commoners. In that decisive moment, Lloyd conjured a magical key and unbound the Magin from his seals. Even the Magin found himself unable to comprehend Lloyd's unexpected decision to set him free. In a moment of indulgence, Lloyd reminded the Magin of their agreement. Recognizing Lloyd standing there, the Magin unleashed a powerful attack, the black laser cannon, in an attempt to blow Lloyd off. As he began to contemplate what he would do with his newfound freedom, the dust settled. The Magin was shocked to see Lloyd standing unhinged within a protective barrier. The strange incantation and construction forming before him left the Magin perplexed, realizing that Lloyd possessed unique and unconventional methods of magical invocation and protection. With no trace of fear and a casual tone, Lloyd expressed his desire to witness more of the Magin's attacks. Growing frustrated, the Magin began bombarding Lloyd with relentless attacks. But Lloyd remained unhinged and calm, his demeanor unchanged despite the Magin's hardest attempts to overpower him. Even the powerful black laser cannon failed to faze him, adding to the Magin's growing frustration. Undeterred, the Magin continued his onslaught, bombarding Lloyd while he remained protected within his defensive barrier. Lloyd, intrigued by the magic being used against him, started to whirl his finger over the Magin's attacks, examining the magic's structure up close. Though the intense magic nearly melted his finger, Lloyd, protected by his barrier, asked the Magin for another demonstration. Growing increasingly frustrated with Lloyd's nonchalant attitude, the Magin decided to employ his best and utilized a double incantation. With a swift motion of his hands, he created another formidable attack, a spiral black laser cannon, and unleashed it at Lloyd with full force. Though hit by the attack, Lloyd remained calm within his defensive barrier, analyzing the magic type and its structure. Upon closer inspection, Lloyd found the Magin's magic fascinating. It required a parallel curse as a prerequisite, an impossible feat for him to produce. The Magin had skillfully woven together two spells, creating an advanced version of his earlier black laser attack. Impatient, the Magin threw another special attack, but Lloyd and his barrier remained unscathed. After putting in considerable effort, the Magin turned frustrated and attempted to leave the library. However, to his dismay, he found himself trapped within the barrier. Lloyd, demonstrating his mastery, had encompassed the entire library within his advanced defensive barrier. Frustrated, Grimoire the Magin inquired about the barrier, and Lloyd clarified that, due to a past accident, he had decided to implement barriers on everything to prevent unintentional harm. Ready to showcase his strength, Lloyd prepared the magic Ardent Flame Fireball and instructed the Grimoire to demonstrate his defense magic. Terrified, Grimoire watched as Lloyd unleashed a ferocious attack that engulfed the entire library within the barrier. Everything inside fell victim to Lloyd's catastrophic assault, reducing it to rubble. Amidst the settling dust and light, Lloyd stood unharmed, confused by the outcome. He observed Grimoire lying there, half dead, and approached him, questioning why he had not defended himself.